I would think every father listening to this would say, I'm woefully prepared to be that man of God for my kids.
Sure.
Right? And so that's a process that a dad is always learning, and that talking about a moving target, how you treat and teach and discipline and all that, educate your toddler, different from adolescence to adult, right?
I think we can all say we all want to be better fathers, but I think the stumbling block becomes a lot of guys just don't know where to start or how to.
Sure.
Even. I think we have we live in a how-to culture, right? Of, well, there's a list for that. There's a top 10 tips and tricks to be a better husband today. And I think, we look for that easy fix, but it all goes back to the Bible. It always goes back to the Bible.
Sure.
And it shows this, this perfect image of a heavenly Father who loved us and sacrificed so much just to have a relationship with us, a free relationship that, he easily could have been like, hey, no, you don't get choice in this. We're having a relationship here. But
Right.
he gave us the free will to choose him. And I think that, we often overlook this, this grand idea of, the Lord's love for us is a perfect image that we should be reflecting when we are trying to be a godly father in the household.
Yeah, I think, living out biblical fatherhood through spiritual leadership. I mean, that's a difficult chore. Right? That's a hard bar to set. And so most guys don't set that bar.
Yeah.
We've discussed this a couple of times. Tony Evans, his son, was trying to play basketball. He bought him a hoop, put it in the driveway, and he was trying to work on dunking. And so all summer long, he did that. Toward the end of it, in summer, he asked his dad to come out and see him dunk the ball. And his dad went out there, and he kind of walked down the stairs, got on the driveway, and realized that the goal had been set at 8 foot, 8 foot, not 10 foot. So he raised it up, and his son's like, oh, I can't reach that. He says, well, that's because you've been aiming at the wrong target.
Yeah.
That's actually the target. You've trained for this one. You should be training for that one. And we have that same exact illustration in the Bible.
Yeah.
God sets the bar. We either ignore it, we hear it and don't want to change because change is hard, or we embrace that and try throughout our entire lives, sanctification, to hit that mark.
Yeah, I think that a lot of guys view spiritual conversations like this, especially with their sons and daughters and wives, almost as like too emotional. It's like,
Sure.
oh, that's emotions. I don't do this kind of conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let the church handle that. I'm gonna let your
Right.
Sunday school handle that. And you can see that we are called in the house to lead, and that is whether you have children, don't have children, pregnant, wanting to try, whatever, because there will never be a time where you're like, oh, okay, I got a moment to breathe. Now I can work on that whole spiritual thing. That whole,
When things calm down.
yeah, that whole chestnut.
Yeah.
So, I think you have to spend the time and make sure you have these like really imperative conversations to your children when they're younger, to have that foundation, because what you don't want to have happen is never talk about it.
Yeah.
They grow up and then they're like, man, Dad just didn't really teach me how to have quiet time or how to be consistent in prayer. Or
Sure.
We just didn't really talk about that. That's more of a church thing. We do that at church. That's it. That's a Sunday morning only. And then
Right.
we roll back into the house for football and pizza. That's, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I could say that, even, and I came to Christ before you guys were born, but I would think every father listening to this would say, I'm woefully prepared to be that man of God for my kids.
Sure.
Right? And so that's a process that a dad is always learning, and that talking about a moving target, how you treat and teach and discipline and all that, educate your toddler, different from adolescence to adult, right? But I saw my parents' generation come from the do as I say, not as I do generation. And so it makes for horrible examples. It's
Sure.
like, well, you're telling me to go serve in the community, and you never do.
Right.
Why is that? So is this not important for you? Is this make believe to you? Should I believe that? An example, right?
Right.
And so you never want to be that do as I say, not as I do.
Right. Well, because then, your words become empty.
They're empty.
I mean, then that can cascade through all of it, right? I mean, we're talking about, the spiritual, kind of talking about Christianity to your children and leading them to Christ, but that starts to bleed into, well, Dad always says he's going to be there for my games, and he
Sure.
never is. Or he tells me he loves me, but I don't really see it in his actions. And so, we have this bar set by the Bible and what God's done for us. And I think you can see it's so polar opposite of what the world looks at. Of we talk a lot about the sitcom husband and dad because it is based off somebody, right? About how it's always the fumbling dad. He doesn't know what to do. He's always the kind of the butt of the joke. The
Right.
mom is more in control, and I think it's it's a dangerous world we live in that if you don't model your parenting and fatherhood after the King of Kings, that you will base it off something you've seen, and if that's off the world, then your children are woefully unprepared.
Right, because if you don't step up, if you don't parent your children, someone else will. And if you are paying any kind of attention to schools across the world, you do not want schools parenting your children. It's bad enough they have to try to educate them. Parenting is your job. Don't shirk it for anybody, because I have friends that they still blame themselves because they sent their children to a certain school, exposed them to a set of thinking that has changed lives forever.
Yeah.
And most years I kind of put out there that, especially when you guys were in college, that I'm talking to you, college professors who don't believe, right, or atheists. Okay, you're going to spend your time during that class trying to bully and persuade and convince that Christian to become an atheist or question their faith. And I'm going to spend more of my time trying to do just the opposite, right?
Right.
And so I'm going to put in the work when you're not. Because I'm not trying to shield you guys or my sons or whatever from hearing the world, because there's no chance of doing that.
Yeah.
But understanding that Christ becomes first and everything else is second. The way you can filter that and say, I don't believe that, I don't want to hear that,
Yeah.
or you're wrong. And so that's these formative years are just as important for a dad as they are for children.
Yeah. And, the Bible talks about train up a child in the ways so that when he is older, he won't depart from them. And I think that if nothing else, think about the idea you're building a foundation for your children that will last them to when they become a parent.
Sure.
They have children. They become a husband and wife kind of thing. Because there were so much things vying for people's attention. And if you pass the buck on parenting and leading your children in all that to the schools, the churches, the Wednesday night Bible studies or whatever, then you've missed the calling. You're called to lead in the household. It is not anyone else's job or responsibility besides yours.
Yeah, I don't think guys are thinking of that all the time when they're just wanting to have sex.
Yeah.
Right. And so, oh, you're pregnant. No, so now it comes with this responsibility. And so, and even if that's the case, then you start to understand that, okay, well, my job is changed and I have some responsibility that I got to step up to do with. And that's the challenge that wives across the world have had to fill in for, I don't want to say just deadbeat dads, but just that dad, even husband, that It's really not there.
Right. Doesn't want to take part in the daily.
Yeah, they work, they come home, and they're almost invisible.
Yeah.
And so, well, visit us at uncommen.org for more of this kind of content. And Joshua?
If you're going to be something, be uncommon.